Okay. So this is a foundation reading for Chai-Wan Ku on February 23rd, 2022. And Chai-Wan, where I like to start with the foundation reading is talking about the difference between the conscious and the unconscious definition. And this is one of the unique insights with human design. If you see in your chart, I know you've been studying some source material, the only thing that you have conscious access to is the fact that you're a willful person who is emotional. You've got this level of community. So you know you're a community person, you know you're supportive, you know you want to kind of belong to something, but you need your space within that. You know you've got you're reliable, you're willful, you're going to get people's backs. You kind of know these basic things about yourself. But if you notice, none of the other channels are black all the way across. So that means all these other things are unconsciously defined. You can't introspect, and within your subjectivity, you can't find those things. Instead, you just see the effects of those things. You see the consequence of them. So this kind of learning experience is one in which, you're surprised often by kind of what might come out of your mouth and what you do and the feedback people give you. And you're thinking, well, that's not me, but it is you. It's just not your conscious definition. So that's one of the unique insights to human design. I do like to point out, because there's a misconception that this black side, or what they call the personality, is just the mind and it's not the body. The way this works is that we're looking at your unique genetic blueprint, your genetic differentiation. You have everything in this chart, including this kind of white space. If you didn't have those things, you wouldn't be alive. The difference is just that what is white and what is open operates inconsistently. So it's not a part of your fixed nature. Everything that's defined, which in your case is quite a lot, is fixed and reliable. So you're a very fixed person, as you can see. And openness and definition, it's kind of good to get a, basic understanding of this before we move forward. Definition is basically what you're putting out, what you're putting into other people, what you're transmitting. It's who you are, it's what you're doing, and you just sort of take it for granted because it's you. What is open, and that could be a matter of this open root center here, or the various open gates that bridge your split. These are the areas that you're interested in. It's what you're thinking about. It's what you want to be. To the extent that you can think about those things, you can see those things, you can look at them without trying to be them, you develop wisdom, and we're going to get into that more later. Openness, when it takes in the other, it amplifies the other and it creates distortion. Now, in your case, you're not very open. And one of the, our charts are similar in the sense that we're both very defined charts. I only have 2 open centers. I don't know if you looked at, the about page of my website, but I only have 2 open centers. You have 1. Usually when people come to design and they see a lot of openness, they freak out. And they're like, oh my God, this is a shitty design, Yeah. Trade this in. And you look at ours, you're like, whew, I'm in the clear, I'm good. I don't have that much of a not self. But of course, that isn't really the way that it works. It just means, as we're going to kind of, elaborate later in our meeting today, it just means that you have a very consolidated not self. It's built around very particular themes. And the wisdom that you can receive is not just through that particular openness, but what I've discovered in my own life, being in the experiment now for 8 years, is that there's a lot of wisdom to obtain when you're very defined as well, because what we see is how centered the other people are. Because as we meet them and we're putting this definition into them, again, not deliberately, not intentionally, there's no psychology behind it, it's just the mechanics of how it works, they can amplify that and they can really get lost in that if they're not centered in themselves. So you and I have this capacity to meet people, quite unintentionally provoke them and see, how grounded are you in yourself, really? Just a side note with that.